Welcome back, and today I'm super uber mega excited to share this movie that I've been waiting so long to watch. Is finally here, and let me tell you, it didn't disappoint at all. But before we get into further details and actually discuss everything, please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and let me know your personal opinion down below in the comments.
Thoroughly middle. He has a good job. Or will. Or might. For a wildlife. Shame, I just came up to let you know that Professor Greenwood wanted to talk to you about your book.
He knows I can't.
Do whatever, do something. I left my mother's house when I was... Don't you miss me?
So basically, the movie is called Hedda. It centers on a title character, a general's daughter who is newly married but quickly bored and dissatisfied with her life. Trapped by societal conventions and a mundane existence, she manipulates the people around her, which ultimately leads to tragedy. So let's get into the character breakdown. First and foremost, we can obviously start with Helen. So Helen arrives at the ball. She is Hedda's former lover and her husband's main academic rival. Ellen is a new woman and has changed her way by stop drinking with the help of her new lover Thea, a former school, in this case, mate. In this case, she's also a writer and she's very well known and respected for what she does, on a professional level. But obviously, she also faces her own trials and tribulations when it comes to her situations that she is trying to overcome. And who is Thea? Thea is Hedda's and Eileen's former schoolmate. Hedda used to pick on her a lot later on in life. Thea left her husband to embark on a new love story with Helen and helping her write her book that would change both of their lives. Thea is very, protected over Helen and wants her to stay away from Hedda because she knows the, negative impact that Hedda has on Ellen and she's not there for it. So she always tries her best to keep her away from everything or anything that can destroy her since she is sober now. So basically, when Hedda returns from a honeymoon with her husband, they are caught in this situation when they know they need to make, a financial growth in order to keep their lifestyle, especially because since Hedda got married, she knows that her husband is not a financial, free man. They can just give her everything that she wants. But she also knows that he has invested a lot in the house that they currently have in order to get, in this case, Hedda. So now Ellen, in this case, she is the straight competitor of, Hedda's, husband because they both wants the same job at the university by becoming a teacher. And he basically, Hedda's, husband knows that Helen has the best curriculum in order to get the job, but because of her ways and her past and who she is, and her, drinking problem and all of that, her not able to keep her head straight, has, put a target on her back for her possibly not to get the job. So she has decided to get cleaned up in order for her to get herself in a better position, and also knowing that she will be releasing a very important book that will be changing everything and they can basically guarantee her the job instead of Hedda's, husband getting the job. But Hedda's husband also needs the job because he knows that, without this job, he will not be possible, to keep the house, to keep Hedda, and just to keep everything going for them. So there's the kind of conflict, and yes, more of the story, they are rivals. Before Hedda marriage to her husband, she and Helen's relationship was very passionate and also very toxic at the same time, where they came to a point where they have decided to break up in this case, and in this case, Hedda almost took, Helen's life away because of, the way they were managing their relationship, but nothing ended up happening. And later on at the ball, Helen encouraged her basically to drink and destroys her work, manuscript, and ultimately giving her the weapon to eliminate herself, driven by a mix of lingerie love, envy, and desire to control the only person who ever truly understood her. So that is basically how the whole rollout of the movie is between the two. Because the situation is that, Helen came into the ball. Helen went to the ball because she wanted to present her new project to the teacher of the university in order to give her better position when it comes to, getting the job. On the other hand, Hedda was, making her or trying to convince her that she needs to go back to her old ways because that is her true her. And Thea was trying to tell her, no, you don't need to go back to your own ways because you are a changed woman. You can do and achieve everything you want to achieve without drinking. But later on, obviously, you can see that once again, Hedda found a way to manipulate Helen and getting her back to into her old ways. And that's where everything just goes from 0 to 100 real quick. because later on you can see that Helen in this case she just starts shrinking and start losing control and just going back to her own ways. And during that moment that's where Hedda took the advantage to basically get her book, and later on destroying her book with her husband. And when in this case Helen found out that her book was gone and it was nowhere to be found, she was just destroyed. Thea have decided to end things with her because Thea was like, if this is gonna be our reality, that I don't want it no more, because you cannot get yourself under control. You do everything that Hedda tells you to do. This woman have so much more of the story, so much power over you. I'm here to protect you. I want us to release this book. But later on, in this case, Hedda also starts to get into Thea's head, basically telling her the only reason you want to be with Helen is because you care more about the book, and instead of caring more about her. So it's a whole lot that goes on in just one night. But later on, as the movie progresses, you can see that things just starts to intensify more, especially when Helen have decided to go back drinking. She was basically telling that it's Hedda's fault that she was drinking again, just blaming Hedda for everything. But yes, somehow it is Hedda's fault, because Hedda knows how to manipulate her in order to get what she wants out of a situation, and basically just bring out the dark side of Helen. So later on, after Hedda, when she got the book, she destroyed the book with her husband. There is where, before that whole situation happened, you can see that at this point, Eileen, discovering that she have lost everything. She lost her book, she have lost the job, she have lost this new love that she have. She just basically lost her floor and ground, and she didn't know what is next for her. So you can basically see that in this case, Hedda gave her a weapon that was telling her, you don't have nothing to live more, you rather just do it. And obviously, Helen, she was considering doing it. She even tried to do it in this case to eliminate herself, but she just couldn't go through it. And as she walked out of the garden, there came a friend, and she accidentally in this case harmed herself with the weapon that in this case Hedda has given to her. She was rushed to the hospital, but there was no confirmation if she had passed away or she was gonna recover. But during that whole situation, you can see the police came in order to question Hedda regarding the whole event that happened, the fact that this situation happened. And later on, you can just see Hedda being so cold towards the situation, basically saying that I don't want her to be here. I'd rather her not be here than her being with someone else and achieve everything that she wants. Because if she cannot be with me, if it's not going to be my way, it's definitely not going to be her way. So there is a lot of toxicity that goes on between the two. But more of the story, the thing that I want to say is that you can clearly see that these two have a super toxic relationship. And by the end of the movie, you can also see that the other lover that Hedda had also had got enough of her. He was just like, hey, if this is gonna be a situation, they got into an altercation where in this case Hedda almost got hurt. And then you can see by the final scene that Hedda was walking into the water. She was trying to also eliminate herself because of everything that she knows she brought upon herself. And then later on, you can just see her husband running after her to give her the news regarding Helen, basically, if I'm not mistaken, telling that in this case she had survived. So that's where the movie ended off, is like at that point. But I do feel like the breaking point for Hedda was when she opened her heart in this case to Ellen, and told her like, hey, I loved you, and maybe if I would have left with you, I would have been a different woman. But you can clearly see at that moment, in this case, Ellen basically told her, yes, I have loved you, but I don't love you no more. And I feel like that was the point that definitely broke her. And she was like, hey, if you're not gonna be with me, if you're not gonna love me, then I just rather you don't love nobody at all. So that was the circumstances of how things went from 0 to 100 real quick. Let me tell you, this movie is 100 trillion% worth to watch. And if you guys are not watching it, you're definitely missing out. Moral of the story, the two don't have a happy ending. They failed out, and you can see that after years of them being separated and not being united, you can clearly see that in this case Hedda, she still had a lot of love, but also a toxic love for Helen. And Helen always knew that Hedda was no good for her, but somehow she just could never detach herself from this woman. So there is a lot that goes on. That's why I will say I will highly 100 trillion% recommend you also watch this movie. This movie is amazing. So yes guys, that's basically it. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. Until the next video, and goodbye.